Okay, video number one for review sheet number one. So maybe you should spread it out. Do one today, one Tuesday, so it keeps everything fresh. Don't forget, you will have the use of a calculator, which definitely should make things easier, but you still have to know or understand how to input the numbers or when to input the numbers. So like this first expression, putting all these numbers in the calculator all at once, I highly wouldn't suggest that. Um, but I would suggest that you maybe, so if you're doing it on the calculator, you might want to put these two numbers inside the calculator because order of operation tells me I have to do these two. So when you put it in the calculator, don't put 12 times 4. Well, you can put 12 times 4, and you would get 15 minus, and 12 times 4 is 48 divided by 6. Now, as you go along, now the next thing I would put in my calculator, well, I'm going to do division, so I put 15 minus and 48 divided by 6 is 8, right? And then 15 minus 8, if you want to put that in a calculator, you can put it, and that will give you a 7, as opposed to putting 15 minus 12 times 4 divided by 6. That might not give you, render the results that you want. So be very careful. Okay, do it in steps. So likewise here, if I'm using the calculator, I would put just 2 to the 4th to figure out what 2 to the 4th is, or you can just multiply 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, and you get 2, 4, 8. 2, 4, 8, 16. 3 squared is 9, minus 12, and again, I don't think you need a calculator for any of these right now. And if you continue, still doing the parentheses, 2 minus 9 is 7, 16 minus 9 is 7, minus 12, multiply these two, get 14 minus 12, and you should get the answer of 2. Okay, 8, 16. So that's what I would do. And again, what am I doing? Let's keep moving. Next, again, using order of operations, I have to do the parentheses first. So negative 23 minus, and remember, it's this, so the exponent is really being applied to the 5. So leave that minus sign there. Change the 5 squared to 25 times 3 plus 14. Continuing, we need to do 25 times 3. So minus 23 stays, that stays, and this changes to 75 plus 14. Now you can put these two in the calculator, but make sure you put the negative sign there, right? Because it's not 23, it's negative 23 minus 75. So if you want to do that on the calculator, you can. And the calculator should give you that it's negative something. What do you call? 98. And then if you add 14, you should get negative 84. Okay. So use a calculator as a tool. Okay, something to just make sure your answers are correct. On this side, I have negative 6, and again, it's this. And if I do this, let me just show you that this applies to this only. So do not put negative 6 times negative 6, because that's not what's happening here. It's just 6 to the second power, and that becomes 36. Minus 5. Inside the parentheses, I'm going to do the exponents. 12 minus 2 to the third power is 8. Okay, and again, continuing. Oh, sorry, this is a minus sign here. Minus 36 minus 5 times the difference of these two numbers, and 12 minus 8 is 4. I can continue. Minus 36, and times this will be 5 times 4 is 20. And if you can finally subtract those two numbers, you get negative 56. Okay. As you go along, make a note of the things or the problems or the type of problems that you're having difficulty with, and then you might want to review those separately. Okay, so here we go. 2 less, so let me just translate this. 2 is 2. Less means subtraction. Product means I'm multiplying two things, and the two things I'm multiplying is n and 5. I'm going to rewrite the expression because we want the coefficient first, right? So n times 5 should be actually written as 5 times n because the coefficient comes in front of the variable. Now ask yourself if you're done, and we know we're not done because the word is less than, so we have to make a little switch here. It becomes 5n minus 2. Quotient means division, so I'm going to represent division as a fraction, and it's a number and 4, right? So that's that first part. Increase means addition, plus 6. And we are recording. Twice the sum. So again, twice means multiplication, multiply something by 2. And we're multiplying the sum of a number and 8. So I got to add a number and 8 first, and then multiply by 2. But if I leave it like this, I'm really only multiplying 2 times that number. I'm not multiplying the 2 times 8, right? So actually, let me just write it a little closer. If you write it without the parentheses, it becomes like this. And you're not multiplying, like I said, the 2 times these 2 things added, but instead you're just multiplying 2 times n. But if I put a parentheses, then I have to first add n plus 8, right? Find whatever that answer is, whatever the sum is, and then multiply by 2, which is exactly what the sentence is asking you to do. So twice multiply 2 times whatever this equals, and then divide by 7. So that parenthesis is a must here. The difference implies subtraction, and I'm going to be subtracting 2 things between 7, right? Subtract 7 minus and 9 times a number. Okay, so that's that. Now, with perimeter questions, one of the things that you might want to do is actually draw out the problem, so I think visually you can understand what's being asked. So here we have a triangle. Now, let me do one prior. So if I gave you a triangle, and this was 6, and this was 5, and this was 8, and I asked you to find the perimeter of this particular triangle, you would take all 3 sides and add them, right? So the perimeter of this particular triangle would be 6 plus 5 plus 8, and you get 11 plus 8, 19 units, or whatever that is, centimeters, inches, miles, kilometers, etc. And our answer would be 19 units. But our triangle, it's not that simple. So I'm going to draw a triangle. I have no idea what it looks like, what kind of triangle it is, but that's not important. So I know that this side is 4m plus 12w. I know one side is 5m minus 6y, and I know the other side, make this w a little better, and the other side is 7m minus 9w. So that's how the sides of this triangle is being described right now, and I'm asked for the sum. So just like I did over here, I'm going to repeat that same process. So to find the perimeter, I have to add all 3 sides. So let's add them. 9m minus 9w, that represents one side. So I'm going to put that in parentheses, plus the other side, and plus the last side, 5m minus 6y. Now, if I add all these, so because I put them in parentheses, and you should, okay, until you understand that when I remove the parentheses, okay, everything's going to come out the same. So if I put a little 1 over here in front of each of these and do the distributive property, right, 7m minus 9w comes out as 7m minus 9w. 4m plus 12m, exactly the same. It's a positive, so it becomes 4m plus 12w. And the last one is, again, if I do this, positive times positive gives me positive 5m, and positive 1 times negative 6w becomes 6y, right? So now I can add, and let me just identify all the like terms. 7w plus 4w is 11w. 11w plus 5w is 16. Sorry, where do I call it w? 16m. The w's now, let me change colors here. It would be minus 9w plus 12w minus 6y. And I'm just going to take those 3 on the side because I didn't rewrite my expression. So I have this that I have to combine. Okay, something wrong here. This doesn't count. It should have been just minus 6w. So the only like terms are these two in blue. So minus 9w plus 12w, I think of it as negative 9 plus 12, and there's more positives, so that's going to be definitely plus 3w, right? And then the last guy over here, minus 6y, has no one to combine with, so we just bring it down. So the perimeter of this triangle is 16m plus 3w minus 6y. We have a rectangle in the next problem, and again, do yourself a favor and maybe draw it out. And it says that the length, so the length, let's just call this the length, is 2.4k. It's represented by the expression 2.4k plus 8.5m, which means the other side is likewise the same value. And the width here is 8.73k plus 2.6m and 8.73k plus 2.6m. Now we just gotta add them. So again, this plus this plus this plus this, we can write the expression in two different ways. One of the ways you can write it is using these parentheses. So it's 2 times 2.4k plus 8.5m, right? Because there's 2 length, and then I'm going to add that to 2 times the width, because there's 2 of the width, 8.73k plus 2.6m. If you don't want to do it this way, and you actually want to write down 2.4k plus 8.5m plus 2.4k plus 8.5m plus 8.73k plus 2.6m, and again plus 8.73k plus 2.6m, that's completely fine as well. So choice is yours. Now if I apply the distributive property, it's this, right, like this. So this is going to be 4.8k plus 17m, right? Plus, and then you're going to multiply these two. 8.73 times 2 is, I'll do it here on the top, it's going to be 6, 14, 17.46 k, and then 2 times 2.6, that's one easy, it's 5.2m. Now we can combine like terms, so these two k's will be combined, and plus 17m plus 5.2m is going to be combined. So 4.8k, and they're both all positive, so it makes life a lot easier. So 17.46, and again, you will have a calculator, right? So this is 6, goes 1, doesn't go 12, goes 1, 2, and 22. So it's going to be 22.26k, right? And then if I add 17m plus 5.2m, it's going to give me 22.2m. So the perimeter of this rectangle is represented by this expression. So again, we have a rectangle, and we have to identify the sides first. So it tells me that the length, and here's the length, right? The length of this is represented by this expression. It's 1 more than plus twice 2 times the width. Right? So which means this part at the bottom, the other side of my rectangle, it's also 1 more than 2 times the width. What about the width? There is nothing describing the width, so the width is just w. So I have my 4 sides here, and I'm going to find the perimeter. To find the perimeter, I'm going to add all of them up. So in this case, I'm just, you know what, let me do it 1w plus 2w plus 1 plus 2w again, and then plus w plus w. And again, you could have used this expression. It's a little shorter, right? So either this one or this one to start to show the, what do you call, the sum of all the sides, and then you figure out. So we're doing this one this time. I just chose the longer one, and let's add all the w. So plus 2w, plus 2w, w, and w. If I add all that, I get 6w, and then 1 plus 1 is just 2. So the perimeter of this perimeter is represented by the expression 6w plus 2. And then the second part tells us that w is 4. There's an actual value for 4. So p, So we take 6. The W is given to us as 4 plus 2. And 6 times 4 is 24 plus 2. So the perimeter of this, rectangle is 26 units. Okay. And if you really wanted to take it a little bit further, you know that the W here is given to us as 4. This is 4. And it tells the length is 1 more than twice the width. So 1 plus 2 times the width. 1 plus 8, which gives you 9. So which means the length is 9 at the bottom, so the length on top must be at the bottom. On the top must be 9. And if I add those, it should give me 26. 9 and 9 is 18, plus 4 is 22, plus another 4 is 26. So everything checks out. Now we're talking about a triangle. So a triangle, to find the area of any triangle in the world, I'm just going to exaggerate. We multiply the base, and here's the height of the triangle. My base times height, and we divide it by 2, because a triangle is really half of a rectangle, right? And we get the areas. So base times height divided by 2 is how we find the area. Let's substitute here. The base is 7.2. Right, 7.2. The height's represented by the expression 2y plus 6. So I get 7.2 times the height, which is 2y plus 6. And we're going to divide all that by 2. The first thing I would do, if I were you, I can simplify this fraction. Right? This 7.2 and 2. If I divide 2 by 2, I get 1. If I divide 7.2 by 2, I get 3.6. So now I end up having 3.6 times 2y plus 6. 3.6 times 2 is 7.2 y, and 3.6 times, right, I'm going to use the distributive property, times 6 is 36, 18, 21, and 6. So the area of this triangle is represented by 7.2y plus 21.6 units squared, whatever the units is. Okay. Find the perimeter of the square if one of the sides is 5.m3. So let me just move these down. So it's a square, which tells us that all our sides are measured the same. So if this is 5m plus 3, this is 5m plus 3, which means this is 5m plus 3, which means this is 5m plus 3. Right, because it's a square. Now, I want to find a perimeter, so I'm going to do 5m plus 3 plus 5m plus 3, 5m plus 3 plus 5m plus 3. You can write that long expression down, or you can just simply do 4 times 5m plus 3. Apply the distributive property, you get 20m plus 12, and that represents the perimeter of our square. So now this says uses combine like terms, uses distributive property if needed, or well, let's say, so this one I can't combine like terms yet because there is a distributive property to do first. So negative times a negative is a positive, and 2 times 3k is 6k. Negative 2 times negative 5 is positive, and 2 times 5 is 10, and then minus 8k that's sticking around the back. Now I'm ready to combine like terms. I'm going to combine this guy. Let me rewrite this. So I'm going to combine this guy. I'm going to move this to the front or next to it, the 6k, and then the plus 10 I'm going to move to the back. Focus on these two, right, because they're like terms. 6k minus 8k is negative 2k, and then plus 10 in the back. Same thing here. I cannot combine anything because I have this distributive property to apply first. And so let's do that. So again, imagine there's a 1 there. Negative 1 times 5m is negative 5m, right? Negative times a positive is negative. Negative 1 times negative 7y is going to give me positive 7y. Next one is negative 4. Think of that. That's negative 4 times 4m is going to be negative, and then 16m. And lastly, a negative times a negative is going to give me a positive, and that's going to give me 48. Combine like terms, I will rearrange this. Negative 5m minus 16m, put all the like terms next to each other. plus 7y plus 48. So the only like terms here are these two. And minus -5 minus 16, if you want to change that to addition and think of it as -5 plus -16, both negative, so it's going to be -21m plus 7y plus 48. Again, likewise, the same thing. So we get negative and a positive, which is -24h. Negative and a negative is going to be positive, and it's going to be 6w. Negative and a positive is going to be negative, and 9 times 3 is 27h. And negative and a positive is going to be negative, and that's going to give me 108w. Combine like terms. Let me bring things together. Move this term next to this term, and then plus 6w and minus 108w next to each other. Negative 24 minus 27, it's going to give me negative 51h. And then positive 6 minus 108 is going to be negative something, 102w. Okay, this is definitely a calculator moment here that you can use just to make sure that your answers are correct. Last one, this is just, I don't even know what this is, just moving. 12k minus 18k minus 5m minus 15m, and then plus the lonely 7 over there. Combine these two, you get negative 6k. Combine these two, you get negative 20m, and then the plus 7 at the end. We're still, now this one, I think with this one, it helps if you think, actually put a 1 here, so let me put that 1 there. So it's 1y, let's move this guy, it's another y, minus 0.4y, plus 4n, right? Plus 4n, minus, and I'm gonna put the 1 in front of the n, just to exaggerate a little bit here. So I want to focus on this. So I know it's going to be something y, and then if you look at the coefficients, it's 1 minus 0.45. So if you had $1 and you spent 45 cents, how much would you have left? And that's going to be 0.55. So 0.55y, and then I have to do 4 minus 1 over here, and that's just simply, it's going to be positive first of all, and 4 minus 1 is 3n. Okay. Here we're applying the discrete property. It's a fraction, big deal, not a big thing here. So it's a negative times a negative is a positive, and 1/4 times 8. So 1/4 times 8. We can simplify before you multiply. Divide by 4 is 1, divide by 4 is 2, and 1 times 2 is just 2. So we're going to get 2m. Negative 1/4 times negative 20. So we're going to do the second part here. Again, times. Simplify before you multiply. Divide by 1 is 1, divide by 4 is 1, divide by 4 is 5. So I'm left, and a negative times a negative is a positive first of all, and 1/4 of 20 is 5. And that 5c plus 5m at the end. They're all positive, so this one's pretty easy. 2m plus 5m is 7m plus 5c. Moving down. So you notice that there are quite a few problems with fractions, so hint, you're definitely going to see them. This is not that difficult. Multiply these two. 7 times a half, so 7 times 1/2. There's nothing to simplify, so it becomes 7/2, which you can rewrite as 3 1/2 or 3.5 of the decimal. Choice is yours. So 7 times a half is 3 1/2. Y. Positive times a negative is a negative, and 7 times 1.5. 1.5 times 7. 25 goes to 35, I'm sorry. And that's going to give us 10.5 minus 10.5. If you chose to write this as 3.5, that's fine too. Minus 10.5. Choice is yours. Next one. It's this times this and this times that. So the first one, we are multiplying 6 times 5 over 4. Positive and a positive, right? So it's going to be something m. So simplify before you multiply. Let me put this over 1. 4 divided by 4, 4 divided by 2 is 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Nothing else to simplify. So I get 15 over 2, which you can write as 7.5 or 7.5. So let me write that as a decimal. 7.5 m plus, and 6 times 1.55. I will use my calculator because it's way too early for me. It's 8:33. 1.55 times 6, that's going to give us 9.3 and 9.3. That was ridiculously easy. Too simple. And again, we're just practicing our skills here. We got to multiply again the same, so it's a negative times a positive, so I know it's going to be negative. And this is two fractions. 1/5 times a half is 1 times 1 is 1 on top, and 5 times 2 is 1/10 m. Negative times a negative is going to be positive, and we're multiplying 1/5 times 15. What's 1/5 of 15? Should be 3, right? So if I divide 5 into 5 groups, I'm going to get that each group has 3. So simplify before you multiply, just to show you. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 5 divided by 5 is 3. And if you multiply all that, you get 3. So it's going to be 3k. And then negative times a negative again. It's going to be a positive, and 1/5 of 2. So 1/5 times 2. This is 1 times 2 is 2. And at the bottom, I put that over 1. 5 times 1 is 5. So it's just 2/5. And then it says plus 5m. Is there any like terms I can combine? I can combine this guy over here. It's this guy. Yeah. So let me write plus 3k plus 2/5, because those two are not going to combine. And let me do 1/10 plus 5m, 1/10 m plus 5m, and I'm going to do that on the side. So it's 5m minus 1/10 m, or if you 1/10 plus 5m, it doesn't really matter which way. So you can change. I probably would do this as a decimal, and then let me just stick to 1. So it's 5m, and if I change 1/10 of the decimal to a decimal, I get 0.1m. Remember, to change a fraction to a decimal, you divide 1 by 10. So imagine you had $1 and you want to divide it among 10 people, everybody would get 10 cents, right? So 1/10 is the same thing as 0.1, and now it's much easier because 5 minus 0.1 is just simply 4.9. So I get 4.9m. So when I combine these two terms, I got 4.9m, and that's your final answer. Last one, well, this guy is not going to do anything right now, so it's just going to hang out a little bit, and then let me take care of these. I have to apply the distributive property. So it's a positive times a negative, so I'm going to get a negative, and 4 times 5 is going to be 20b. Positive times a negative, again, it's going to be a negative, and I get 4 times 3/5. There's nothing to simplify, so I'm just going to multiply across, and I get 12 over 5. I can combine these two guys right here. Let me change colors. These two I can combine. Right? So you can change. So however you want to do this, 10 over 3 minus 20. So I would probably, what would be the easier way? If I change 10 over 3, so let me do 10 over 3 minus 20. If I change that to a mixed number, it would be 3. 3 goes into 10 3 times, 1 left over, 3 over 3 minus 20. Right, so I know this can be read as this. Right, so there's definitely more negatives. So my answer is going to be negative. I know that. And what's 3 1/3 minus 20? You find the difference. So on your calculator, you can just subtract negative 20 plus, or 3 1/3 plus negative 20, and you should get 16 2/3, negative 16 2/3 b minus 12 over 5. Now, some of you might ask, well, I need to change this to a mixed number. Look at your multiple choice answers. See how the answers are written. And you can change 12/5 to 2 2/5, okay? And see if it matches any of your answers. This one, now this is, I'll put a 1 here and I'll put a 1 here. So notice how different they're going to be. So over here, it's a positive 1. So positive 1 times negative 12w is negative 12w. Positive 1 times negative 7, negative 7. So everything inside the parentheses came out exactly as they were inside. So you notice that there's no change. Now, here inside the parentheses, you have positive 8w plus 23m. Notice what happens when it's multiplied by negative 1 here. So negative times a positive is negative. So that's going to give us 8w. Negative times a positive is going to be again a negative. And 1 times 23 is 23. Notice that these two terms who were positive inside are now negative outside because I multiplied by negative 1. Okay. Combine like terms. Let me move some things around. All my like terms are next to each other. Combine these two guys up to here. Negative 12w minus 8w is negative 20w. Negative 7 and negative 23 is negative 30m. Okay, so much easier now that you have a calculator. Factor completely. Well, this one's easy. So you're looking for the greatest common factor between 12 and 20. So if you did this, it would be 4. 4 goes into 12 3 times. 3k minus 4 goes to 20 5 times. The GCF is 4. So this would equal to 3k minus 5. You can always double check because 4 times 3k is 12k and 4 times negative 5 is negative 20. So this works out nicely. And I need to see this, by the way. Don't leave it like this because that's not your answer. Likewise here, this one, and again, I told you I would touch on the subject a little bit more on Monday, but you want to pull out everything that's in common. So if I do this right now, what can I use? What's the biggest number that is in common between 40 and 24? And I believe that would be a 6. But guess what? They also share a k. The k is present in this term, and k is present on this term. So I can pull that out too. So 6k, how many times can 6k go into 40kw? 6 goes into, not 6. Why am I doing 6? It should be 4. No. It should be 8. 8k. Sorry. So 40 divided by 8 is 5, and the k, it's already there, so it'll be 5w, because there's already a k there. And then 24k divided by that would be simply 8. So now, if I write this, I'm going to get this. 8 is shared by 40 and 24. K is shared by 40kw and 24k, right? And then if I multiply this, look what I get. 8 times 5 is 40, check. K times w is kw, check. And the last one, this should not be an 8. Like I said, it should be a 3. Let me write this as 3. Sorry. And 8 times 3 is 24, and k times 3 is just 24k, right? So you multiply the coefficients, and you get 24, and the k is also being multiplied, and it's just written over there, and you get 24k. So that's a double check. Next one. It's almost the same thing. And if you pull out, you can pull out a 5. No. What's common between the highest number that's common between 15 and 30 is not 5, it's 15. And they also share an a in common, right? So 15 goes into 15 one time, 15a goes into 15ac one time, and the a's are in common, so I don't write that, and I write 1c. Minus 15 goes into 32 times, and the a's are in common, so I'm not going to write that. So now if I were to write this like this, I get, I'm not going to write 1c, I'm going to write c minus 2. Double check. 15a times c is 15ac, and 15a times 2 is 30a, right? This one again, if I did the ladder method, I can pull out a 16, and they also share y in common. So this would be negative x, and 16y into 32y would be negative 2. If you double check, 16y times negative x, you're going to get negative 16xy, good. And then 16y times negative 2, you're going to get negative 32y. Check. Okay, for these two again. What's in common? Let me start with 2. 2 goes into 44 22 times, but negative. And 2 goes into 8 4 times. Can I continue? Yeah. I'm going to use another 2. 2 goes into negative 22 negative 11 times, negative 11 m times. And 2 goes into 4, again, 2 times. So there's no more numbers that they share besides 1. So the GCF is the product of these two. So 2 times 2 is 4, right? So that's going to go outside, and inside you're going to get 11m minus 2. Check. 4 times negative 11 is negative 44, and 4 times negative 8 is negative 2 is negative 8. So I go back to that expression. Same thing here. 2 works, no. 3, no. 4, 5, 6, 7 works. 7 goes into negative 28, negative 4m. 7 goes into 14, negative 2 times. And 7 goes into negative 21, negative 3k times. So my final answer will look like this. And again, please check. Multiply these, applying the distributive property to see if you get the original expression, and you do. Two-step equations are definitely there. Okay, something like this. So each apple costs $1.25 and each watermelon costs $3.75. Write an expression that represents the total cost of buying X amount of apples and Y amount of watermelons. So if I buy, let's say I bought 5 apples, well, let's worry about that later. So to find the cost, so I'm going to take apples, the cost of the apple, and multiply by however many I bought, which in this case is represented by X. This is how many apples I'm buying. 125 times however many, plus 3.75 times however many watermelons I'm going to buy, which is y. So this represents the amount of watermelons. This represents the amount of apples, which as of now, I don't know. So that would be the first part. So that 1 point for this particular expression. Now, I'm going to take that expression and figure out my cost. And in this case, the situation says that I bought 5 apples. So 1.25 times 5. Plus, and how many watermelons? 3. So 3.75 times 3. Do your calculations. I have no idea. So you're going to multiply 1.25 times 5 to find the total cost of your apples. And this is going to be 6.25. And you bought 3 watermelons. And times 375. This is a decimal, not a multiplication, sorry. And that gives you 11.25. And to find the total cost, you add both, and you get that your final price was $17.50. Okay. So write 2 different expressions to represent what? The perimeter of a rectangle. So, all right, so let's see. Here is a rectangle. The length is represented by 4y plus 5. This is 4y plus 5. And the width is 3y plus 7. 3y plus 7. So I want to create 2 equivalent expressions, 2 expressions that show me the perimeter of this rectangle. So here's one. If I were to find the perimeter, I would do 4y plus 5 plus 4y plus 5 plus 3y plus 7 plus 3y plus 7. So the perimeter of this rectangle is represented by this long expression. Can you come up with a different expression that also represents the perimeter? Well, the other expression would be the shorter one, right? So, and we can represent it by 2 times 4y plus 5, right? which is these two times 2, plus 2 times, what do you call 2 times 3y plus 7. And then we can even create a third one. So, and the third one, if it's, I did indeed multiply and what do you call, using the street property, I would have gone 8y plus 10 plus, what is this, 6y plus 14. And if I combine like terms, I actually get 14y plus 24. So actually, I would be looking for this expression or this expression, the simplified versions, right? So I can say that the perimeter of this rectangle is represented by 14y plus 24, or by this, okay? Actually, any other 4, I would probably take it because they're, in this case, you have 4 different expressions, all equivalent to each other, right? That represent the perimeter. Okay. This being the simplified version. Okay. This question was on the state test last year. So and I want you to, it says right. Get your bonus words for the first video. Oh my god. It's going to be, well, soundtrack from the music we can barely hear. No, too easy. Going to be this, which is the next topic of our unit, inequalities. Okay. So solving this, it says she asked the students to write equivalent expressions. So the teacher wrote this expression, and 3 kids wrote these. So Tom says that this expression is the same thing as a teacher's expression. Jenna said that her expression matches a teacher expression, and then Chris said, no, my expression matches a teacher expression. So who's correct? Or which of these 3 kids actually have the correct answer? So in order to do this, obviously you have to figure out, let's simplify, because all the students look like they simplified the teacher's expression. So let's take the teacher's expression, simplify it, and then we can compare it to what the students did. 2z plus 3x minus z. So if we did the distributive property, we would get 12x plus 15y and everything, 20y, everything is positive, plus 8z. On that side, it's positive times a positive, and you get plus 3x. And then positive times a negative gives a negative 3z. We can combine like terms. I got x here and an x here. 12x plus 3x is 15x. That's easy. Plus 20y, right? There are no like terms for 20y. And positive 8z minus 3z is positive 5z. So this is a simplified version of what the teacher wrote. So let's look at Tom's. Does Tom have this expression, 15? No, he has 12x. So definitely Tom is not right. It should be 15x. Got the other, no, not even the last 2 parts he got correct. So Tom is wrong. Jenna wrote that it's the same thing as 5 plus parentheses 3x plus 4y plus z. Let's take Jenna's expression and apply the distributive property. 5 times 3x is 15x. 5 times 4y is 20y positive. And 5 times z is positive 5z. Guess what? Jenna's correct. Look. Jenna matches the teacher's expression. And again, you would have to explain all this. And then Chris, let's see, Chris has 15x, check, 20y, check, and minus 5z, sorry. He would be incorrect because it should have been positive 5z for some reason. When you combine 8z minus 3z, he didn't do it correctly. So your explanation would be that Jenna is correct because her expression matches, and then you would have to obviously show why her expression is the same as a teacher's expression. Okay, and this is your first review. I'll put up the second one as soon as I finish my bagel.